Please subscribe my channel. I remember the morning like it was carved into stone. The sunlight poured through the blinds, cutting stripes across the hardwood floor, and I watched her move around the kitchen with that same casual grace that had once captivated me. I thought about how we had started, the way every laugh felt like a promise, every touch a covenant, and now it felt like I was living with a stranger. A stranger who happened to know every corner of my heart. It was her birthday. I didn't need a reason to give her something, to try and show her I was still here, still invested. I had spent the previous week thinking about gifts, experiences, even little surprises that I knew would make her smile. But when I asked her, simple, casual like I always had, "What do you want for your birthday?" she looked at me in that way, half annoyed, half bored, and said it. "You disappear." The words landed like a punch. I froze because even in our worst fights, in our longest silences, I had never heard her put it like that. Not in anger, not in frustration, not even in passing. "Disappear," she said. Not leave the dishes, not stop helping, not even take a break. Disappear. Vanish. Like I had no right to exist in her space anymore. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I felt the slow, crushing weight of everything we had been, everything we had promised each other, tumble in my chest. And in that moment, for reasons I can't fully explain, I understood her fully in a way I never had before. She wasn't asking for me to buy her something she wanted or to plan a party. She was asking me to leave, to stop being a part of the life she had created around herself, a life in which I apparently didn't belong anymore. I tried to remember the signs. I really did. The subtle shifts, the small distances, the absence of warmth and touches that used to linger. The excuses when I asked her to spend time, the fading interest in conversations that once lasted for hours. I had ignored them, convinced myself I was overthinking, convinced myself that she still loved me in that quiet, invisible way that people claim exists. But now she had said it out loud and it was unmistakable. She wanted me gone. I packed slowly. I wanted to take a moment, but there wasn't one. Every second spent hesitating felt like a betrayal of my own understanding. I left the kitchen exactly as it was, coffee mug on the counter, her half-eaten toast still on the plate. I didn't say a word. I didn't even look back. That was the moment I realized there would be no conversation that could change her mind. No arguments, no explanations, no apologies. I left a note. Short. Precise. Not filled with anger, not filled with blame. Just the truth. I wrote that I had heard her wish and I was granting it. I didn't need to argue, to justify, to remind her of what we had been. The note was simple, clean, almost clinical. It was the first act of clarity I had felt in months. As I walked out of our front door, I felt a strange sense of liberation even as my chest ached. I had spent years trying to bridge a gap that wasn't mine to close, trying to salvage love from a place that had already left me behind. And now, stepping into the morning air, I realized that leaving wasn't an act of defeat. It was an act of acknowledgement, of self-respect, of finally accepting what had been obvious for too long. The drive away from the house was quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't call anyone. I just drove. Past streets that had held our laughter, past parks where we had walked hand in hand, past stores where we had shared the trivial and the monumental. Every familiar landmark cut through my chest, a reminder of a life that no longer existed, and yet, paradoxically, it made me feel lighter. I thought about the silence I was leaving behind. That heavy, empty silence that had filled our home for months, the silence that had become unbearable. I realized that silence had never been hers alone, it had been ours. Mine too. I had filled it with attempts, with compromises, with hope that it would return to what it once was. But hope is fragile. And hers had run dry. There is a peculiar clarity in obeying someone's wish that you thought was impossible to fulfill. To disappear truly, completely, without argument or resentment, is to grant closure to someone else and simultaneously to yourself. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't linger on the past. I allowed the years of frustration, neglect, and indifference to collapse into one final, decisive act. Leaving. As the city disappeared behind me, I started to feel a strange kind of peace. Not happiness, not yet, but a relief I hadn't known in years. The weight of unmet expectations, of silent frustrations, of unspoken resentments, was finally gone. I had given her what she wanted, and in doing so, I had finally given myself permission to exist outside her world. I didn't know what would come next, didn't know if I would ever turn back, didn't know if I would find someone who would see me, truly see me, and not ask me to vanish as a gift. But for the first time in what felt like forever, I was certain of one thing. Disappearing wasn't just for her, it was for me. And sometimes the only way to honor someone else's wishes is to honor your own as well.